think. So, starting.
All right,
Okay,
here we
we're
are.
live.
We are.
Hello, hello. Um, so I was thinking, as I know I told you this, that I've been thinking about. It was interesting that last night we had a brief message exchange of what are we going to talk about on the live, and I will confess, both of us were a little bit like, "Aw," I don't know, because I think our heads are so in, like, what we're doing that we
I
have
know,
to, like,
right? Yeah,
look up and say,
to, like,
"Hmm,
pull out.
larger issues," and we're always thinking about the larger issues, but still, I was walking home from an acting class, and so that was in my head, and I know that you have taken I mean, now no, it ended. No, yeah, you just had your show, like, you've taken tap classes, tap dancing classes,
Yeah,
and
actually,
you took
the spring
drumming.
spring session is happening.
Right. And so I was thinking about how, certainly, like everybody tells you this too. It's like it's really good to be a beginner in something. And I'm someone who I love, I think you win the game when you have the most musical instruments. Like, I mean, and you can define almost anything as a musical instrument, but like I love the idea of like
True.
grab a musical instrument and see
Just
what you can
try
do.
it out,
Just
yeah.
start, yeah, learn and be new to something. And for me, for acting, I did act in high school and college and stuff, but, like, it's certainly new to be taking a class as a grown-up, and it's very interesting, and there's another writer, a mutual friend of ours, who's in that class too, so it's like we think about the connection between
Yeah, do you
acting
find
and writing.
that being in the class, sort of gives you some different perspective on either, like, works you're editing or your
No,
own
it's sometimes
writing?
because it's scene study, so you have to and it's weird. I've been a little you could say it's a little churlish that I am not going back and rereading all of The Cherry Orchard. I'm just looking at the scene that I'm in with a scene partner, and it would be, in a way, easier to sort of understand more about my character if I read the whole play. I've seen it a bunch of times, but it's like you study that little piece of text
But
to try
sometimes
to figure out.
there's value in that and just taking that
Exactly.
one little piece out of
Yeah.
context of the whole narrative.
Yeah, and, like, we were working on something in which the writer friend is, also a scene partner, a play by Tracy Letts, August Osage County, I think Meryl Streep played her in the movie, I haven't seen the movie, but I'm the mother in this little tiny scene, and it's like, I'm not sure whether the mother is completely addled about this information that she's dumping on her daughters that's pretty cataclysmic, or whether she knows that it's going to have a cataclysmic effect because she actually knows what's going on, that it will
Mhm.
affect tremendously. And so it's like, how do you play it? And then we were looking like really closely at the text to understand, oh, here's
Well,
the
because then
crux.
you really start
Here,
paying attention at the word level.
right, right. It's like what is the playwright telling us about
Mhm.
her actual attitude and her actual emotional state. So, yeah, so it makes you think about, like, turning points in the story or pacing, because
Mhm.
you can't play a scene like, "It's here the whole time,"
Right,
because then
right.
where are you gonna go? So, like, thinking about, like, "Oh, maybe start here so that you can go," which I think is part of storytelling as well.
And
Like,
dialogue, because I know you
pacing
have a
well, n
penchant for
but
reading out loud, but and there's nothing like saying, dialogue to see where its flaws are or where it shines.
yeah. No, but I also think, like, when we're don't you think, like, when you're writing, I mean, there is a cadence to narrative. You might have a long stretch of summary, and then there's gotta be,
Yeah.
like, a fast sequence of events or a fast sequence of events, and then whoa.
Mhm.
So, you have to pay attention to those kinds of changes of
Mhm.
speed, narrative mode. So, I think it's helpful. But so your
Yeah, I mean,
class
so this got me
experiences.
thinking because, well, I did, like, 20 years of Kathak dance,
Yeah.
um, and then I've done 2 years of tap dance, and I piddled around for, like, 5 minutes with drumming, but I realized, one of the things that all these have in common is, well, 2 things. One is they're percussive. You're banging something because a
Yeah,
kathak
yeah,
is
yeah, yeah,
very,
yeah.
it's like the feet
Yeah,
on the ground and the bells.
yeah.
And the second is that each of these art forms has its own language to some extent.
Oh, like the choreography has a language?
Yeah, and so,
Mm.
like, in Kathak, that is actually at a whole really high level because in Kathak, which is a North Indian classical dance, you actually recite every composition. You learn the composition by heart in a language which is not
Oh.
Hindi, it's not Urdu, it's taken from the language of the drums, of like the tabla.
Hmm, hmm.
But what's amazing is, I haven't done Kathak now in like 6 years, 7 years. But you start reciting one composition, and even if my body is no longer able to do it,
Mm,
it just rolls off the tongue. And I
mm.
don't know if the fact that I'm so involved in words and writing is what also drew me to the types of other art forms that have a language and almost a grammar. Like, okay, like here's
That's
a
really
composition.
interesting.
Here's a really short it's like a
Eh,
really short composition in just so people know what it sounds like. Like in Kathak,
yeah.
it's like Dana detete datrika detete katrika detete kataga digena takita dikita takita dikita tigida tigida tigida. Okay?
Oh,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, and each of
that's pretty wild.
those
But so that's like, you
corresponds
know
to
how
a movement or a
yeah.
type of movement or a type of sound that your foot is making. And so, like, it's like, "Dana detete datrika detete," like, that datrika detete is,
Yeah.
like, super fast feet, and then at
Right.
the end, it's Dana,
Ba,
dana,
ba,
da. It,
ba.
like, slows down,
Yep.
which is what you were talking about also,
Right,
right? Like,
right, right, that's right.
the
So
cadence in a scene.
that makes me think about something that came up in our class last night that, like, in terms of our teacher was talking about how to get off book, which
Mhm.
we're all some of us are, not me, are already like, it's great, they're off book and it's awesome. But she was saying that one of the things I think it was something that Jennifer Ely, who is the daughter of Rosemary Harris, I think I'm getting this story correctly,
Am I
that
supposed
Jennifer
to know who
Ely
these people are?
Rosemary Harris is an actor who
Oh,
was
okay.
she died a couple years ago. Jennifer Ely is in the famous Colin Firth Pride and
Okay.
Prejudice. That's her. She plays Elizabeth Bennet, but you know her from lots of things. But anyway, um, and interestingly, her father was a novelist,
Mm,
John Ely. But okay, moving on. That Jennifer Ely had said that a way to memorize your lines is
lines.
to do them in, how did she say it? How did Allison say it? To do it in dit. Like, she would do the lines, like, saying, like, dot, 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 dot for each syllable, like, dot, 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 dot,
Uh-huh.
dot, not saying the actual words, but
Oh,
saying, sorry, I wasn't clear, but saying, this
a placeholder, like,
percussive
yeah. Yeah.
syllable for
Interesting.
each syllable of the line, and that somehow that was a
That's what
way,
sticks in your head is the
because that's
thing.
what sticks in your head. Because then, so in our somewhat freewheeling before we got down to business conversation, our mutual writer friend,
Mhm.
it made sense for her to bring this up, but she said that there was a quote from Homer that she had on her desk while she was working on a book that was, taking her very, very many, 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 many years to bring to fruition.
We all
And
have
she
those.
said the line, like a line in English, and it sounded like the beginning of the Odyssey. So I was like, oh, Andra miene pe musa politropon os malapola.
There we go.
Plastie pitris pe poliethron eperse. It's like, and I said, like, those are the two opening lines of the Odyssey. But it's the rhythm.
Yeah.
Andra
It's the
miene pe
rhythm.
musa
That's the thing.
politropon os malapola.
Exactly.
Glacia
Yeah, and,
Beatrice Poliethron Epperse. Like, you
and
can
that goes back to what we talked about on a previous one of these about learning poetry in school as a
yeah,
kid,
yeah.
and it's also the rhythm. Like, I remember you remember a certain rhythm of how to say it. There was this horrible English teacher I had at this very strict, British-run school in India in Bombay in 1986. Anyway, I spent a year there, my 7th grade. It was terrible, but
Mm.
other things were wonderful, but my school experience was terrible. But anyway, and we all had to stand up, and this was exaggerated, but we had to learn the poem, what's it called? It starts with "The boy stood on the burning deck."
I somehow I knew that you were gonna
Yeah.
say that poem because
Why?
that's very, like,
Why?
English.
Yes, exactly, and
Yeah.
actually it that so it shows up in my 2nd book, which of course nobody has seen because it hasn't been published, but that's a whole other
Maybe
story. Anyhow,
that's why
yes,
I thought
but
of
I
it. Yeah,
remember
yeah, yeah.
everybody standing there, and they put zero feeling into it, and it was like, "The boy stood on the burning deck, but and that was not the right way to deliver it, but that is what stuck in my head is that
That's the
feeling
r
of
yeah.
da 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 da. Um,
Yeah, I mean, you think about it, like, I'm I could do it for the beginning of the Aeneid. There's some Anglo-Saxon poetry that I remember, and I swear to God, I probably only remember it because I remember the rhythm
It's
of
the
the
rhythm, it's the
lines.
rhythm. Yeah, and I'm
You
finding
know, I remember, like, the opening of S Edmund the Blessed. Why? I don't know. What use is that in my life?
yeah, it's
And
interesting
and
'cause,
and too, it has a really good rhythm.
in
Oh,
the yeah, go ahead.
no, but I was gonna say, like, these things matter so much as writers because, like, I've been known to, like it's like someone has an injury, and it's like, "Oh, and she hurt her knee," and I'm like, "No, I need 2 syllables. She hurt her
Right, I
ankle."
know.
Like, you change the
You
actual
yeah,
events of your story because you need the rhythm
the
of
rhythm
that
to match
word.
that
It's like,
emotion
"It
or the
has to be
feeling.
2 syllables right here."
Yeah, I'm finding that, having switched for many reasons from Kathak to tap, tap also has a history and a culture and, a lot behind it,
Right.
um, and sort of a legacy of certain they're not called necessarily compositions, but my head is still stuck in Kathak, so rudiments where, so and so developed the such and such, the waltz claw, and the this and that.
Mm.
Um, but I'm finding it frustrating that there's a much smaller linguistic like a much smaller language. You can do like, toe, heel, press, toe, but that could mean a number of things. It could mean it
Oh.
doesn't tell you what the rhythm is. It doesn't tell you how it fits into, like, the
Oh,
beats.
that's true, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, because, like, Kathak has in
Like
addition
shuffle
to
ball change, that could be a million different
yeah,
ways.
it could be, but it could be done in many different ways.
Right, well, that's what I mean, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So,
Hmm,
whereas in Kathak, not only are there the words or the syllables, they're called bols, which comes from the word bolna, to speak, but, they fit in a rhythm structure. So you
hmm,
not only do you learn to recite them, but you learn I'm holding my hand up because you count the rhythms, you count the beats on your fingers. So if
mm,
you're doing like a 16 beat cycle.
mm,
So you know exactly where everything's supposed to fall. And once you memorize it, then you can really work on doing it like
yeah.
with your body and you
Well,
know
so
what it's supposed to be without having any visual reference. So
yeah, and
I
it's that
think you
whole
can
it's
even
that
notate it.
body
Like yeah.
and it's the body piece that helps you memorize ugh, that helps you do it and
Yeah.
perform it and memorize it. I
Right.
mean, in the case of that was the other thing we learned about, like, learning to get off book is this other writing down by hand, not
Mhm.
typing, but writing
Yeah,
down
by
by
hand is
hand
a makes a big
each
difference.
each word of your line by just its initial letter. So if you had a line
Oh,
that said,
interesting.
"What the heck is going on?" you would just write
WTH, right.
WTHIGO. But the process of doing that
Huh.
is gonna help you get the lines in your head with a kind of
Like, because
precision.
you can see it written out, kind of?
Maybe, but it's the muscular connection because
Uh-huh.
I think we all agreed, and Allison, the teacher, was saying, like, if you type it, you miss
No,
that.
you
And that's what we now know is, like, writing creates that muscular
yeah, like taking
connection.
notes.
Yeah, taking notes. Even if you
I mean,
never write
I
them
remember
again,
because
the act of having taken the notes,
but even where
does
you place
something
it
in the
on the
brain.
page, like, I remember, 'cause I grew up in France, I had to do the baccalauréat, so you're tested on, like, everything you've ever learned ever.
Mhm.
In your senior year of high school. But in particular, what you learned in high school. So starting like freshman year in high school, you start, well, if you're me, you create these note cards, right? Yeah, because you reduce each lesson because you're going to have 4 years worth in every single subject that you need to know.
Yeah.
And so my friend Mady and I would do this and we'd reduce each lesson unit to these cards. But then it came to the point, yeah, and so we then studied with like huge stacks
Yeah.
of note cards because you can't
But it
go
would have
through
been
all the
much
notebooks.
worse if you hadn't done that. You would have had
But
pages and pages and pages and pages and
but I would remember like a certain thing, 1588, the defeat of the Spanish Armada.
Mhm.
I could picture where on the card it was or what color I
Oh,
used,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
and that
Oh,
stuff gets ingrained.
I have that, like, when I do some of these long trail runs, I listen to an audiobook. Not all but then I don't because I think, like, "You know what? You just need to pay attention."
Yeah.
Um, like, don't trip. But still,
Yep.
there have been times when I've been listening to an audiobook, and every time like it happened last weekend, I wasn't listening to an audiobook, but as soon as I started up this one particular place, I was like, "Oh." Niall Williams, Time of the Child. And I knew exactly not just which book, but which scene. This is when they go to the old woman's house and
Uh-huh.
they paint the whitewash on the bottom of her house. And like actually it's not Time of the Child, this is Happiness. But anyway, like, it became connected. There was a spot on Route 89 North where I used to get a little weepy every time because I had been listening to Ann Patchett's State of Wonder,
Oh god.
and I would get to this particular place, and it was like,
And you're like,
"Oh,
"Oh."
no."
So that's
So,
yeah, that's a whole other thing about how, like, a place or smell can just, like,
yeah, yeah.
create anyway, it's 12 for twelve
It's
fifteen.
12:15. We gotta
Have
go.
we
We
have
have
done our thing for 12:15. But yeah, anyway, thank you for bringing that up because it did make me think about why is it that I was drawn to tap and to katak and then briefly to drumming. And I think there is something there about not only the percussive nature but also the language of it. So
I think it's really interesting.
voila.
Okay. Bye.
All right, bye everybody. Thanks for joining us.